Hey, everybody, it's Mike from The Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention The Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion Zia of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion and the ones you love will be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, TuneIn, along with Amazon and Audible, along with Stitcher, Deezer, heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a wonderful gentleman who is a 77-year-old, world-renowned holistic physician, rabbi, yogi, spiritual mystic, psychiatrist, family therapist, humanitarian, peace ambassador, and what else is there? There's like a large accomplishments that you have in there, and walks the planet in a state of eternal presence, seeing the emancipating life from all things, yet living in the very real world, where his good works and spiritual guidance changes lives daily. And of course, he was also a captain of the 1964 football team out of Amherst College Football Hall of Famer, and he's also had 13 internationally best-selling books, also pioneering a way for curing type 2 diabetes in 21 days, and becoming one of the most foremost spiritual professionals in the authentic rising world of Kundalini energy and healing. Live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful Israel, ladies and gentlemen, the very spiritual and author of his new book, Into the Nothing, A Spiritual Journey, Dr. Gabriel Cousens. Dr. Gabriel, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Good morning and good evening, Mike. It's great to be with you.
And it's great to be with you as well, too. And I would love to come to Israel right now and just, talk to you in person. And of course, you've been a holistic physician, rabbi, yogi, spiritual mystic, psychiatrist, family therapist, humanitarian, peace ambassador, and more. And you're also the captain of the 1964 Amherst college football team, and you also had 13 international
Undefeated Amherst College football team. Undefeated.
I was just going to say undefeated, but for some reason, it seems like the football guys just want to block it. So we'll have to, get rid of these negative football guys during our journey and keep saying undefeated. and before we get into all that in this amazing journey, tell us how I first got started, Dr. Gabriel.
Well, when I was 4 years old, no one in my family had ever wanted to be a doctor in any way, but I felt I wanted to be a doctor. Now, what did I know? I didn't know anything. So there was kind of a subtle directive going on in my life that I wasn't directly, wasn't actually programmed from my family. And then at 8, I began seeing some visions of 3 people in white. One was Lakota Sioux, a crazy horse, who's near up by your way to some extent. And as a Native American sun dancer, we that energized me. Another was Avraham. And the third from India is Sai Baba of Shirdi. And these figures kind of kept reappearing, okay? And so that's part of my story. The other part of my story is, this is 1943, they didn't have antibiotics and I had TB. And it was almost for sure a death sentence. But my mother put a lot of energy into things and I survived, obviously. But I had a quest, like, what is this mystery of death? What is it? And so that was part of my quest, which really was finally answered at the age of 33 when I received a spiritual initiation from Swami Muktananda. We call that Shaktipat, or in the biblical, it's called Haniha, okay? But it awakened this awareness, and I kind of merged into the nothing and then came back out, and a little voice rang out and said, there is no death for the self. The self is immortal, can't be born and can't die. And that gave me great relief. The mystery was finally answered in an internal way. Then I began doing a lot of meditating. During my time with him was meditating 6 hours a day. Okay, um, so that was kind of how that's unfolded for me. But I have to say that my initial mystical experiences really began with playing football.
Hmm.
And in the subtitle of the book, all I ever learned from life was from meditating and playing football and sacred relations.
Huh.
Okay, so when I played football, I was the smallest guy in the field, even though I played in the line. Um, and I would go beyond myself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went beyond myself, it wasn't just the zone that we talked about, it was really beyond limitations. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was a trance state. And I can remember in college, we beat our rival Williams. We marched down the 2 minutes to go with 80 yards right down the field. And I was in that state I was a guard. Okay. And the tackle next to me said, what was going on with you? It just put me at peace and we just like flowed.
Wow.
So,
Pre-
yeah.
pre- preach
And
that. Preach that to today's NFL coaches. I want to hear what they have to say.
so it taught me a lot about that whole uh, sense of being, that it was actually communicable. And I saw the next year as a captain of the football team where we beat Bowdoin, and it was the same thing. I went into the state and we were tied 0-0 at halftime, and we beat them
Mm-hmm. Wow.
in the last 6 seconds. But it was like going beyond, and everybody else got into that state. It
Mm.
was very clear what was going on. So it was like something could be transmitted, could be that people would transform their consciousness as like collectively. So I learned about meditation. I learned about football. Okay, during those times. So it kind of depends on how you approach your world. And one of the things in my book that I talk about, here's my little book here, Into the Nothing,
Mm-hmm.
is that we take the secret is to take all life's experiences and turn them into a spiritual understanding
Mm-hmm.
to uplift us.
Okay.
So whatever is happening, our job is to transform that into a higher way of being, whether I'm on the football field or I'm facing, whatever, death at something, or in sacred relationships, because I'm also a psychiatrist, family therapist, as part of being a holistic physician. And how do you turn your experiences in relationship to elevate you spiritually? So marriage and also raising children becomes a spiritual path.
That is interesting. You brought that up about a family and spiritual enlightenment, and how is it possible to have a family and travel the path to enlightenment? I mean, this is rather interesting. We got to the football questions in just a minute. I feel like I'm in a state of mind when it comes to football, and I wish it would have been preached to John Madden a long time ago.
Right. Right. So if we take the position that all our life experiences are there to elevate us spiritually, if we have the right angle, we're not a victim. Our family isn't a burden. And so I counsel parents as a family therapist and as a spiritual teacher to look at family differently. Look at quote, difficulties your kids cause you and your teenagers may cause you, and how do you turn it into a point of awakening?
Mm-hmm.
So once you ask that question, it changes the whole experience.
That's rather interesting. And of course, you also talked about keep showing up, be willing to die. And what does that mean to you when people say that, and how does that apply?
One of the hardest things about life is we're always being challenged. And on the spiritual path, a lot of difficulties are, let's say, amplified as part of the process. And my message there is don't have a goal, just keep showing up.
Hmm.
And
Interesting.
just allow yourself to go into the unknown, because relationships are unknown. Playing football, who knows what's going to happen on the next play?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Um, so life is like that. That's what I learned with the TB and the death. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. So let me go with it. I'll just keep showing up and be willing to let go into the nothing as a way of being. And so you play your heart out while you're playing football, which again is a game, right? But it's a metaphor for life.
Mm-hmm.
Life is like that too. You do the best you can, then you let go, knowing life is forever out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to do your part.
Hmm.
If you don't show up, you're not doing your part. So the whole idea is to keep showing up as part of how to live your life,
Hmm.
knowing that you aren't and never have been in control. God's in control from my point of view.
Mm-hmm.
That's how that works that way.
That is very, very interesting. We'll talk more about that in just a minute, but first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Looking at a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion Z of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is an illusion, and the ones you love be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, and coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Also heard on Amazon and Audible, heard worldwide on Geo7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel, and follow Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with a 77-year-old world-renowned holistic physician, rabbi, yogi, spiritual mystic, psychiatrist, family therapist, humanitarian, peace ambassador, and the captain of the 1964 undefeated football team, Amherst College, Dr. Gabriel Cousens, here on the Mike Wagner Show. And he does a really good job of guarding that unbeaten season. And of course, you played guard as well, too. And was that your choice to play guard on the offensive line, or did you have another position in mind?
Well, actually, I was one of the few people who went both ways. So I also played middle linebacker.
Wow.
So I was middle linebacker and guard. Wasn't my choice. It was, I started as a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And at that point, that was the place where I could be first string. So I never missed a game. But the I was also an end, in high school, honorable mention All State in Illinois. But the point I'm making is that was the opening for me to take a position, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what came, even though I was smaller than everybody, didn't matter. So that's how I chose to be guard. And as I say, middle linebacker, that was more easy.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you also put yourself in a state of mind. You play guard, middle linebacker, where everybody's in the zone. You get out and do your job, and you take it to a higher level. Now, was this like coming from a coach? Was it coming from the player, or was it just like coming from you, or was it just like everybody just happened to agree? It's like offensive lines, work that way. So I was just kind of thinking that you're in a zone. So was this like coming from coaches, coming from yourself? Or
No, it was for me. It was a direct experience. It wasn't an idea. It was just something happening to me.
okay,
And because to play at that level, to be an all New England guard and so forth and so on, and middle linebacker, I had to go beyond myself.
hmm
Put it that way. I was, still small, so it was like 180 pounds. I mean, really, that's very small in today's world.
hmm
So, uh, so that's kind of the idea is just that began to happen before it had ever been discussed in the literature how athletes go into the zone.
hmm
If that makes sense.
okay.
Um,
And, oh, okay. Keep going. I'm sorry.
no, it's okay. So that's the way it went for me. I was also a tennis player, a semi-professional tennis player, and that would also happen there too. I would just kind of go on, and just go deeper into things. Um, what really with the football was learning to go beyond what I thought was my capacity.
hmm
And so it was leadership by doing, and it would infect the other people in obviously a good way.
Uh-huh.
You I mentioned against Bowdoin in my senior year, um, I had it was a very, very tight game, and just playing extreme, I had a head-on collision with the really good quarterback of the other team, but knocked him out. Okay. That turned the game. Okay. I had no intention of hurting him, but nevertheless, I tackled him behind the line as I broke. So it's kind of the play is you just play as hard as you can. Whatever happens, happens. I pride myself on not having any penalties and so forth. But indeed, I did knock out one person a game. Very focused energy. But that wasn't intentional. It wasn't to hurt anybody, if that
hmm
makes any sense. And that's a way of life that I'm talking about. Playing, living your life in a very focused way. And that's the key to Into the Nothing is where you go beyond yourself. Go beyond your limitations. You go beyond the limitations of the mind into the nothing. There's a kind of disappearance that happens. So football ends, athletes end, this ends, and suddenly what to do? That's where I took up meditation more because that was the place where I could go there regularly, going into the nothing, which requires going beyond the mind.
hmm
So I was moving from the extreme athletic kind of experience into a place where I could regularly go beyond the mind every day, or in my case, twice a day. That is kind of the key subtlety to that, if that makes sense.
Mhm. And you're also stronger, more flexible, and have more endurance than you were as a 20-year-old captain of the undefeated college Amherst football team and National College Football Hall of Famer. And how's that happened? It seems like you just took football to a next level after your playing days were over, and you become stronger, more flexible. And of course, you also, where I read you did what 8,000 push-ups or something. You keep going. I mean, you're in fantastic shape.
So when I was captain of the undefeated football team, I could do 70 push-ups
Okay,
and 7 pull-ups. Okay. So at 77, I regularly do 1,000 push-ups a few times a week, and I've gotten up to 100 pull-ups. Okay.
gotcha.
How does that happen? You again learn to go beyond yourself. Most people have the myth with age, I have to kind of go slower and I'm creaky and bend over. No, but that's not really what it is. That's a mental state. So the mental state is we get stronger. Well, 70 push-ups versus 1,000 push-ups at one time, unbroken amount, not like taking breaks, okay? 80 pull-ups versus 7 pull-ups. How come? Because if you have the mindset, and of course you have to work out, you kind of develop that over time. You don't just jump there. Then you can do that.
Mm-hmm. Man.
But you have to see yourself at whatever age as this is an opportunity, taking your opportunity as I'm getting stronger, I'm getting more flexible, okay? My balance is getting better. So these are all things that are mindset in that sense,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes
That,
sense. So go ahead.
no, I was going to say that's just really amazing as well too. And I was just going to mention as well too. And what's it like living in the multiple worlds? After football, and of course, being a holistic physician, rabbi, and peace ambassador. What's it like living in multiple worlds?
It's a lot of fun. So I have I work in 26 different countries right now, over about 100 programs. 5 main countries. We have Nigeria, which unfortunately, in northern Nigeria, they're still having, as you read in the news, it's a little crazy. But this is southern Nigeria, and it's called Waori. In other words, it's a town. I work with the local king there, and this is what it's like. So I'm noticing all these stars of David up. Oh, that's interesting. What is this about? Well, they feel that their tribe was one of the lost tribes that had been exiled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, mostly they were, but had become Christian. So in the middle of all this, in this place called Waori, I do a Shabbat for them. And there's 13, the king is head of 13 different tribes in the general area. And so we just flow with it and do an outdoor Shabbat, for all these people who they actually do know that they were one of the lost tribes, that they had that Jewish tradition and blood in them.
Mm-hmm.
So you never know what's going to happen, and you just do what you're supposed to. You do what you do.
And what is the Shakpat, as you talked about? What role does Kanerlani play in this?
Yeah. So I'm just going to mention this is in Nigeria. We're talking about Biafra, the starving children of Biafra. So by the time we're done, we've got a school going. We have farms going. Like in Cameroon, we have 50 organic, veganic farms going to 75. So we're feeding the people and so forth. Now, I'll get to your question. So the transmission of the spiritual awakening energy in the Eastern tradition is called Shaktipat. Okay. In the Western tradition, we call it Haniha. Same thing. It's Kundalini energy in the Eastern tradition. In the biblical, it's called the Ruach HaKodesh, or Holy Spirit.
Okay.
So before my spiritual teacher died, he conferred, really maybe 3 months before he died, the empowerment to awaken people with this energy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the energy comes through, and by touch or by look or by sound, it can be, you could awaken other people.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to Nigeria for a second, because the king's father, previous king, he's 111 years old. Okay.
Wow.
He took part, was part of the ceremony. 3 days later, when I'm leaving, he's still flying high.
Wow.
From awakening energy, because I gave them, the transmission of the awakening energy. So it's like the whole world's a play. We're into the nothing, and we keep showing up, and whatever comes in front of me, you go for it. So here's the previous king at 111 years old, 3 days after everything, he's just flying high and so happy. So, and that's also a cross-cultural thing, because on a very shamanic level, which we learned more with the Sundance type of thing, I'm sharing the same blood. We're sharing the same DNA, if you follow what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And like people began to get that, so that the separation, especially after the Shabbat, was pretty much minimized, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So it was, and I talk about it in the book, Into the Nothing, like this is what's going on. And we do share the same blood. We do, it's a hard thing for people to get, but it's true. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In my situation, my DNA is crossed with theirs. So anyway, that's called keep showing up and ready to die into nothing. It's like you just keep going. Whatever happens, you turn into a spiritual experience.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you had some great experiences as well, too, and clarify the advantage of your multicultural spiritual path of liberation as acknowledged yogi, sun dancer, eagle dancer, and ordained rabbi, and also share more of your mystical experiences. I mean, this is amazing.
Yeah. So from the Sundance, and you probably, there's still sun dances going on up where you are as well. You're supposed to go without food and water for 4 days.
Mm-hmm.
So usually 60, 70 of us are doing the sun dance, where you're supposed to go without food and water. But I was the only one out of the 80 people who actually was able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Okay. And I'm doing in between, doing my prayers as a rabbi, doing my prayers 3 times a day and all kinds of things. People have made lots of fun of me. But second year, I'm still the only one that do this without food and water. So the
Wow.
4th year, I did what's known as the eagle dance. The eagle
Oh.
dance is where you stay in the sun dance. You have hooks in your chest, and at the end you pull and you break it. Okay, but you only have that for an hour or two. Okay, but in the eagle dance, you never leave the circle, and you have the hooks in your chest for all 4 days.
Wow. All 4 days. I don't know if I could do that, but I can get inspiration from you.
So I'm again having a good time, and again, the only one to be able to actually complete it at the level of never leaving the circle. And something happened, because my Sundance chief, who unfortunately has left his body, had the drummers going, and I'm the only one there, and I started really, really dancing because that's what they were wanting me to do. And since that time, it's been a reversal somewhat. I was
Mm-hmm.
60 at the time, which made me probably the oldest in that group of the Eagle Dancers, or of the Sun Dancers. So there was the experience made a subtle turn with like, well, I'm getting stronger and younger, even in the middle of this dance. So when I broke, remember I'm explaining, you have these wooden pegs through your chest. You can't, my fingers are about where the pegs are, if you can see that.
Okay.
Okay. And the rope, you're tied to the tree with it, with the rope looped around. So when I broke free, because at the end you break as part of the ending of the dance, like I did like this backward somersault. Some people say backflip, but I was actually stronger as the dance went on. Usually you get really depleted. Obviously, you go without food and water and you're in the sun, okay? And I didn't get sunburned. What's that about? People with a lot darker skin than me were getting sunburned. Right. So why is that happening? So I began to also understood, because of my diet, which is really 99% live food diet, vegan, plant-based, I actually was able to live off the sun energy, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
I'm not getting sunburned because the sun is kind of going right into my system. So it was like, wow, what a lesson that was. And so here I am getting stronger, not getting sunburned with one of the lighter skins
Uh-huh.
there. It's like, what's going on? Well, I will say when I researched it out, because I'm also a researcher, right? I've published papers in biochemistry and biophysics and so forth. Okay. Um, I found that when people were actually doing live raw foods as part of cancer therapy uh, in Germany, the research was pointing out that they could be in the sun 4 times longer.
Wow. Amazing.
And that's, I said, okay, how, I like to explore what's going on. Why is this happening? And that's where I think why it was so easy for me to be in the sun without being sunburned
Mm.
because of the live food diet, and that preceded this, being with 4 days without food and water. So that's kind of an interfaith thing, and then we have obviously the rabbinical teachings. And when I first entered Israel, I 2007. I'd been coming before that, but I became a citizen. Um, I meditated in a cave for 72 hours in the Negev without food and water. Um, and the Negev desert's a little hot. I mean, people can die within a day of dehydration.
Mm.
It's hot. But during that time, then an image of Abraham appeared and transmitted certain energy to me, which turns out, again, researching it up, that does happen. There's a kind of, can be a transfer of energy. But again, I'm using my background, interfaith background, as a sun dancer, you see, and as a meditator and as a yogi to be able to stay in a semi cave doing this kind of meditation. So the interfaith kind of comes there, is waking up in all the traditions. Uh, Not saying all of the traditions are one; they each have their own gifts.
Mm.
The Sundance focuses on spiritual courage. Yoga focuses more on meditation, and the Hebrew tradition is um, really becoming the biblical teachings or understandings. As in one of my books is called "The Torah as a Guide to Liberation,"
Wow.
and
That is
so
interesting.
it's all in there. Just a lot of people, because they don't have the perspective of the yogi or the sun dancers, they don't see it. And so I clarify that in that book. Just like Into Nothing, as I'm pointing out, is kind of a synthesis of all those paths and all the gifts the different paths give. And they are different gifts. And that's kind of how it becomes interfaith. Each one has a special gift
And,
it
and of
gives.
course, the book talks about the six foundations and the sevenfold piece. We'll talk about that. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at SonicWebStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking a budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, check out the latest novel by well-known award-winning author Mia Motion Z of No Time for Love, called Missing, an extraordinary relationship between two ordinary people based on real-life events that go through 4 countries, 2 strangers, and 1 target, where truth is an illusion, and the ones you love will be the first to go missing. Check out the book on Amazon and other retailers, available on all formats today. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com and on over 30 podcast platforms, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Apple, Amazon, Audible. and coming soon to Podbean, Buzzsprout, Pandora, and TuneIn. Heard worldwide on Geo 7, Radio Public, Himalaya, and more. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel and follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here a 77-year-old world-renowned holistic physician, rabbi, yogi, spiritual mystic, psychiatrist, family therapist, humanitarian peace ambassador, and more. Dr. Gabriel Cousens here on the Mike Wagner Show with his book, Into the Nothing, A Spiritual Journey. And we know you covered, a good portion of the book. And in the book, what are the 6 foundations, according to the book, Into the Nothing?
So the 6 foundations are a way of life. I try to move away from the idea of spiritual practice, but they're a way of life of quieting the mind to transcend the mind and ultimately lead you to liberation. But the key is quieting the mind. So the first is diet. And the diet is 100% plant-based, at least 80% uncooked food. And fasting 7 days, twice a year. Okay. The second is the spiritual, whether yoga practice, like what I do, or in breathing exercises, Tai Chi, Qigong, building your field, and also sacred dance, which I love to do. I love to dance. Okay. So that's the 2. The third is service and charity. Now, what's special about service and charity? Well, what's special is it's a chance to connect your heart to others. So I gave the example in Nigeria, where here I am in Biafra, starving people in Biafra, and I'm connecting at a heart level when we're doing a Shabbat ceremony, and giving the awakening energy, the Shakti part. It's like, but there's a heart connection there. Okay. So that's service and charity. It's very, very, very important. Fourth is working with a spiritual teacher if you're mature enough to do that. Not everybody's ready to do that. So I work with a spiritual teacher. Now I'm a spiritual teacher for different people all over the world. Okay, fine. Fifth is much meditation and prayer as possible. And sixth is much Shakti or Haniha, which is the awakening of the spiritual energy, the Kundalini, also what we call Holy Spirit, or the Ruach HaKodesh in the Hebrew tradition. So those are the 6 foundations I'm talking about as a way of life. And so what's happening now, particularly with the lockdowns and things like that, we're doing meditation retreats once a month over the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding just by looking, about 90% of the people are having these spiritual awakenings. So it's like, wow, that's interesting. But you never know what's going to happen, right? It's like, just keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's such a simple approach.
And welcome to a brand new world called the internet. You can add that to your resume.
So that's kind of like Into Nothing is allowing yourself to go beyond your mind into the primal, I'm going to say chaos, where you're free to merge into God ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But along the way, you're open to all that is, in a way that, having the right angle of the mind, you turn everything into a spiritual opportunity, an opportunity for spiritual growth, like in Biafra or other places, all over the place, like in the Sundance or Eagle Dance, or meditating up in the semi-cave, or in Israel. So that's the key, is turn everything in that way. Now, the 6 foundations empower you because they're a way of life that empowers you to go beyond the mind, where you can keep showing up.
Mm-hmm.
And you can keep turning your life into a spiritual adventure, whether you're a parent or at whatever age, because you're not caught in the matrix of limitations.
Mm, that is very interesting. And of course, we talked about 6 foundations. What is the sevenfold piece?
So part of my work is a little bit what has been influenced by the Essenes. And the Essenes had this idea of peace at different levels. So we have peace with the body, keeping yourself healthy, like what I've been talking about with the diet and with the exercise and the yoga, although they wouldn't use the word yoga, of course. Okay, that's first. Second, peace with the mind, which is meditation. Third is peace with the family. And for me, also as a family therapist, I see marriage, I see relationship as a spiritual path.
Mm,
Okay. It's not just to have kids or to feel good or feel safe. It's a spiritual path if you take it that way. So to me, marriage and family are a real spiritual path. And that's what when I marry people, I explain this is a way to see it. Okay.
hmm
And then peace with the community, same thing. Now, today, in America, it's pretty chaotic, as we all know. The thing is finding the right interface so you can still be at peace with what's going on, rather as people have become hateful and angry and so forth. So that's a test. Like, how do I have the right relationship with the overall community that way? And then peace with all cultures. The Native American would say, Om Batakiwasin to all my relatives. So the living planet has a soul in that way. And that's also taught in Kabbalah. Uh, the plant people, we call it the Native American way, the animal people, and then the walking, talking people with history,
hmm
humans. So peace with all cultures. So that's key, and peace with all the human cultures, which these days is a little bit of a challenge. Okay, fine, but it is is what it is. And then peace with the ecology, of understanding you're not separate from the ecology, but we're part of the living ecology.
hmm
We're one with the living planet. That's where you go to. And then next, like you want to take care of your body, planet is part of who you are.
hmm
Okay, planet's not God. I'm not talking that. The planet is just part of who we are.
hmm
Okay.
And
Uh,
and that's very interesting. And go ahead and finish as well too, and explain people, but continue what you're saying. It's very interesting what you got to say, Dr. Gabriel.
Thank you, Mike. So the final is peace with God. When you have all these aligned of the inner peace, it's a total peace. In Hebrew, we call it shalim. It's
Shalom,
not shalom. There's shalom, which is peace, but shalim is total peace at every level.
shalim. So shalom, shalim.
Right, right.
Shalom, shalom. Okay, I'm gonna have to remember that. I'm gonna have to quiz myself on that one. And lastly, how can people explore the holistic liberation way with you?
Yeah. So what I'm promoting is don't see yourself in to be spiritual is to be separate from life. You're fully engaged in life, but at the same time, you're non-attached. You're fully engaged, fully present, but you're not intertwined. Touch, don't blend. So the key is to be fully present, be fully active, be fully aware, and at the same time, there's kind of a not detachment that people talk about, but a non-attachment. So you're part of the flow. You're not fighting the flow. And people can learn about it obviously by reading Into the Nothing. They can find me at treeoflife.mn.co or drcousens.com, that's pretty easy, drcousens.com. And that can take you to all the different things, our Tree of Life Foundation, or the work we're doing around the world. So drcousens.com, you get the book there, or treeoflife.mn.co. Look, that's the easy way to go about it.
That is very fantastic. Once again, we're here with Dr. Gabriel Cousens, the author of Into the Nothing, a spiritual journey here on the Mike Wagner Show. A very big thank you for your time, Dr. Gabriel. You've been absolutely enlightening. Looking forward to having again soon. And just a couple of things. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Dr. Gabriel?
Well, I have to say God, and I mean that seriously. It's the inner experience of the divine and seeing the divine play. I have to say, the small, silent voice of God when I was 4 years old, 8 years old, 16, that was always ringing through to me and it's guided me.
That is amazing. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
First step, love yourself enough to want to heal yourself. That's really important. That's the key to all the healing. And the second step is know that our soul is immortal. It's either born or dies. And we're here to wake up and take all of our life experiences as an opportunity to wake up and expand and grow spiritually.
That is amazing. Once again, Dr. Gabriel Cousens, author of Into the Nothing, a spiritual journey on the Mike Wagner Show. Dr. Gabriel, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What can we expect from you into next year? Also, your website. How do people contact you? Where can people purchase your book, Into the Nothing, and your other books, or just inquire about your services?
Okay, well, first, thank you. And I want to bless you for your good work that you are keeping this good energy getting out into the world, and all for all the listeners may also be blessed that they're able to take this good energy out into the world. So thank you for your good work. Okay, let's start there.
Thank you.
Um, good. Well, you're a blessing. So I'm blessing you to empower. Okay. The book, Into the Nothing, people get it at Amazon. They can get it through our, treeoflife.mm.co, or go to my drcousens.com and get the book there. But it's actually in any bookstore, both here and internationally. It's out there. We're doing really well in the sales. It's reached bestseller status on Amazon. So people buy it from Amazon. That pushes it up a little bit. Okay, but anywhere they can get it. So. And people can follow if they want to be part of the meditation, monthly meditation. All they have to do is go to those two websites and get that information.
It's the spirits are calling you. Spirits are calling you.
and then that's funny. And then we have spiritual fasting retreats, which right now we're doing over the internet. And I also teach what we call Jnana Yoga, or yoga of the mind, which is how we can go beyond the mind and dissolve all our negative thoughts. It's really, really a powerful 3-day course for people that really takes people into frees the mind. And that's part of peace with the mind. It's one thing to meditate, but if you have negative thought forms of whatever, this shows you how to work on it yourself and dissolve them. So those are the three main courses: the spiritual fasting retreats, the meditation retreats, the monthly meditation, and also the 0-point course. We are having actually in the Aquarian ages happening in December 21st, moving into it. So we're having a big meditation with that worldwide, because it's a way of expanding again consciousness. So we do different events like that. And probably the best place to go for that is treeoflife.mn, mightynetworks.co, because my whole schedule is there. But we do have these Friday night, Saturday, Sunday meditations once a month. We will be doing that on the 21st, which is the opening of this more Aquarian age energy. And we also do regular world peace meditations on each equinox and solstice. I've been doing that since 1985.
Wow, amazing. And once again, Dr. Gabriel, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely great. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor, keep us up to date. Love you back on in 2021 and beyond. And you've been an absolute blessing. Just make sure you keep in touch, and we'll see you in another spirit world sometime as well.
Thank you, Mike. And may you be blessed, and we'll talk, and I'll be happy to come on in a while. Okay.